The Advanced Settings section of the SEG-Y Import window contains many options, and some of these options are used more often than others. Why are all of these extra options included in the Advanced Settings? Some SEG-Y files have very non-standard formats, and modifying some of these parameters will be the only way to complete a successful import of a very frustrating file. InsightEarth attempts to guess the correct options. In the cases where this guess is incorrect, it can be challenging to determine the correct settings. This video will describe these options in greater detail so that the file can be successfully imported with less frustration. The discussion begins with some seldom used features of SEG-Y loading. Starting with Step 1, Read Headers, there is a checkbox for Byte Swap Line Header. What does this mean? Binary digits that represent the number are either read from the left, referred to as Big Endian, or read from the right, referred to as Little Endian. Since this order is important, the number that results from reading in the initial direction may or may not produce the expected results. Therefore, if the values that are presented in Step 1 look peculiar, selecting Byte Swap Line Header may help. If this does not improve the appearance of the values, inspect the InsightEarth log window to see if an error message has been reported. Data format refers to how the values in the line header were written. Most SEG-Y files use a 32-bit format, and InsightEarth reports on the potential accuracy of the format. Modifying this value can display a warning message. However, if the reported values in the number of samples fields and sampling rate look peculiar, modify this pull-down menu until the reported values make sense. In Step 2, Configure Trace Headers, there is an option to byte swap trace headers. This behaves in the same manner as Step 1's byte swap line headers, so if the values in the min and max fields that are displayed in the byte location preview scrolling window look peculiar, try modifying this checkbox. The option to only process live traces provides a way to constrain the calculation of the minimum, maximum, and reference points to live traces only, e.g., those traces which have a live trace byte location value of 1. Step 2 also has several areas that refer to data formats, in particular, World XY format, XY scale format, inline crossline format, and live trace format. There are 9 possible choices for each of these formats. If peculiar values are appearing in the min-max fields, try modifying the data representation format. Why are all of these formats included? It has to do with what system is used to separate the string of binary digits, also referred to as bits, into the various numeric representations. Dividing the string of bits differently will change the value of the number. Therefore, if peculiar values are appearing in the min-max fields, remember to try the option to modify these data formats. The good news is that Step 3, Reference Points, is fairly free of special options. Step 4, Sample Format, Clipping, and Preview, contains several different options. In the Samples portion of the window, there is a checkbox to Byte Swap Samples, which functions in the same way as byte swapping the line and trace headers. The output sample format has 3 data format options: IBM 32-bit floating point, IEEE 32-bit floating point, and IEEE 32-bit integer. Override minimum z provides a means to specify a different minimum z value for the samples. One may also choose to modify the seismic datum elevation field by changing the value here, and similarly, the replacement velocity can be modified from the unitless default value of 7,500. As Trim and Final Preview were previously described in the SEG-Y Advanced Settings video, the only remaining selectable parameter in Step 4 is Override Error Checking. While this option is not recommended, it is possible to select the checkbox shown at the lower right to override error checking. The option is provided as a final means to attempt to load data which is otherwise failing to load, but the results may not be very useful. At the top of the SEG-Y Import window, there are several common parameters which apply to the entire import process. All of the available presets are shown here, along with an option to save a new preset from values that have been entered while proceeding through steps 1 through 4. The output precision of the imported volume can be set to 8, 16, and 32-bit word sizes. Bear in mind that a 32-bit volume requires 4 times as much memory as an 8-bit volume, and that a 16-bit volume requires twice as much memory as an 8-bit volume. The lowest precision is presented by default so that even small workstations will have the best chance of successfully importing a volume. Please never change the checkbox for Output 1.5 Compatible Volume, as this will result in unfortunate output. This option is going away very soon. The concept of geotypes is unique to InsightEarth. Every data object has a property, which might be one of many choices: a horizon, a fault, a well, a volume, either seismic amplitude or an attribute, or a salt interpretation. The processes within InsightEarth work best when they are provided with the correct data object properties as their inputs, and so this option provides an initial opportunity to specify what type of volume is being imported via the SEG-Y loader. The Advanced button merely exposes additional geotypes. Another InsightEarth specific option is the ability to set the data domain of the volume that is being imported. This is most commonly time depth, but if one has received a straddle volume from a colleague who is also using InsightEarth, this can be specified here. The output format is set by default to volume. An optional choice of bricked volume is available for cases in which it may be desirable to work with streaming volumes, in which case one selects a location to receive the output of either a previously specified InsightEarth project directory or by browsing to a different location. Choosing a bricked output format may or may not improve processing speed depending on the configuration of the local network. Once all of the correct formats have been determined and other settings finalized, remember to select Return to Import window to perform the import.